The orders came through while the city was still burning behind them. Every comm in the staging area chimed inside the same 3 seconds. Dozens of them. One sound multiplied across a field of exhausted people. The kind of sound that meant somebody far away had just decided what happened next. Aelin checked his. Forward Base Nall. He looked up. Nekao was already reading his own screen, with the expression of a man receiving news he'd been expecting since before it arrived. Ross read his. Went quiet for a moment, which, from Ross, was its own kind of alarm.
Well, shit.
Nobody disagreed with the assessment. The roster never had Main's name on it. No civilian's name was going to be on it. She found out anyway, the way she found out everything, and argued it with anyone in reach, until the one in reach was Nekao.
The arm's splinted, not amputated. I can still...
Main, right? You've done more today than anyone had a right to ask. I'm not taking you up that hill.
He glanced at the splinted arm.
The wounded need hands, and yours are the best ones left down here. That's my excuse, and I'm using it. Stay.
She heard everything underneath it. She looked at him a long moment, and then, slowly, she let it go.
Now I'm starting to see where Aelin gets the stubbornness from. Just don't die walking up that hill without me.
Wasn't planning to.
She turned toward the stretchers before anyone could make it a moment. Nekao was still scrolling the deployment roster when he stopped, read something twice, and looked up across the staging area.
Darren! Doesn't look like you drew the short straw with the rest of us.
Darren glanced at his own comm and took in whatever was on it without letting it become anything visible on his face. Nekao pulled him aside, and the conversation that followed happened low and close, too quiet to carry. At the same time, Aelin noticed Nevan, off at the edge of the staging area facing the elevated ground at the city's northern edge. Still, in a way that had stopped looking like rest. He walked over.
What are you doing?
Nevan stood there like the question hadn't arrived, eyes fixed on the high ground, gone somewhere Aelin couldn't follow. 10 seconds passed.
Nevan?
He came back like a man surfacing, and when he finally answered, it came slowly, like he was translating from a language that didn't want to be translated.
There's something in that direction. It's been getting louder all day. During the fight, for a second, it was inside everything. The ground, the air, them. It's the root of all of this.
That's where they're sending us. Nall.
Then I'm coming with you. I need to see it.
Nope, not happening.
Nekao's voice arriving before he did, while across the staging area Darren was already moving off toward the eastern launch corridor, where the Gaia's lights blinked far off through the haze.
You're a civilian. This was never your fight to walk into.
I'm healthy. I haven't spent my energy all day. I'm the freshest one standing in this entire field.
He turned around fully for the first time.
And I'm the only one who can get you and the rest of these men into that base with the least amount of casualties. You know I am.
Nekao held his look for a long moment. Behind them, soldiers were forming up, dozens of them, everyone the orders had pulled, most of whom would be walking the same road. He'd already left one of his own behind today, and sent another somewhere he couldn't follow. Whatever this was costing him to decide, he let it cost.
I don't like it. But your call on the east line today is the reason that healer's still breathing. So if I'm taking you up there, if it ever gets to be more than you can handle, you save yourself. No heroics. You walk away. Promise me that.
I promise.
Then thread us through. Every column that went north today is somewhere between us and that base. Find us a way past them that they never see.
He turned to the others, and the captain was back in his voice.
Aelin, Ross, you're with me to Nall. Wall duty until further orders. Questions?
Plenty. None you can answer.
Correct. Move.
The road to Forward Base Nall climbed through the industrial district. Warehouses, fabrication plants, the machinery of a civilization that had spent 7 years quietly preparing for something it hoped would never come. The Partition's first wave had moved through here and left the proof. Scorch marks, collapsed roof sections, a silence that sat differently than the silence of places that had always been empty. They didn't take the road itself. Nevan wouldn't let them. He led them through the bones of the district, across a fabrication yard where half-finished hull plating still hung in its cradles, down a parallel lane that looked identical to the one he'd pulled them out of, the column of soldiers behind them threading through it all in silence. Nobody questioned it. Then Nevan's hand came up. Nekao read it instantly, raised a closed fist, and the whole column went flat against the loading dock. And in the stillness, they heard what they'd been steered around. A partition column moving somewhere close, marching in step, on a road they weren't on.
I hate hiding. You know the big man would have just walked us straight through them.
Loudly.
Yeah, well, loud's always worked for me.
Just another reason I'm glad they never promoted you to captain.
Shh. What gives, anyway? Why isn't Darren with us?
The marching faded. Nevan gave a small nod. Nekao signaled the column forward, and they were moving again before he answered.
Because the Gaia needs defenders. Things aren't looking good for getting the last 2 ships off the ground. And I need him there.
Ross looked at him a moment, read whatever was there to be read, and let it go, which, from Ross, was almost unheard of, and said more about what he'd read than any answer would have. They climbed. The city dropped away below, and the air thinned into something cleaner, the way it did once you got above the smoke line. Behind them, the Gaia and the Elysian were still visible at the launch fields, distant lights, steady, blinking, still on the ground. Aelin caught Nekao looking back at them once, just once, before turning to the road ahead and not looking back again. The road curved, the launch fields slid behind the ridgeline, and then there was nothing ahead but the climb, and at the top of it, Forward Base Nall. They heard it before they saw it. Not the quiet they'd been bracing for, the full sound of a battle already underway, gunfire rolling in flat waves off the high ground, and underneath it, sharper, the crack and flare of Mora discharging, lighting the ridgeline from below in pulses of color that had no business in a natural sky. They came over the ridge, and Nall spread out beneath them, and its eastern flank was burning. The installation sat low against the elevated ground, built in a hurry and looking like it, but built around something. The whole layout radiating outward from a central structure in rings of reinforcement, walls inside walls inside walls. Against its eastern wall, the Partition had already arrived, columns pressing the approach in the same patient rhythm they'd pressed the evacuation corridor, energy fire streaking both directions across the open ground. And moving behind them, unhurried amid all of it, a shape Aelin recognized before his mind finished naming it. The prophet that had spared Ross's life just hours ago had walked this same road ahead of them, and it had walked it to here.
Everything that left the city today came here.
He was already moving down the ridge toward the western gate, the quiet side, the side Nevan had delivered them to without a single shot fired.
Command center, now!
The command center had the specific atmosphere of a place where nobody had slept. Screens shouting, the eastern battle coming through the walls as a constant dull pressure. The base commander picked them out of the room the moment they entered.
The unit from the evacuation zone. Good. You're going to earn the trip. They've been probing the eastern wall since midday. Started light. It keeps building. Every hour there's more of them. They're gathering.
Gathering for what?
The commander didn't answer him. Her eyes had stayed on Nekao, and something passed across her face, a decision being made.
Positions first. Your unit takes the southern wall. East is holding for now. When it stops holding, everything shifts. And I need people on the south who don't need babysitting. Captain, walk with me.
She took him down, through the first ring, then the second, the passages narrowing, the checkpoints thickening, until the sound of the eastern battle faded and was replaced by something else. Something Nekao felt in his teeth before he could hear it at all. A slow rhythm underneath the floor that no generator made.
You've heard the rumors. Everyone at your rank has. Why Nall exists, why it was built up here, in the middle of nothing.
I've heard versions.
The versions are wrong. The truth is simpler and worse.
The last ring opened, and Nekao saw it. The seeding stone sat where it had landed, half sunk in a crater of ground-fused glass smooth by its own impact, 7 years of scaffolding and instruments crowding its edges at a careful distance, none of it touching.
The reason the war started. The reason we're on the brink of extinction today. This cursed relic. Every attempt to move it ended badly enough that the attempts stopped. So we built 3 rings of walls around it instead. It's brought us nothing but grief since the day it fell out of the sky.
The stone pulsed, faint, slow, light moving under its surface in a rhythm that had nothing mechanical about it, like something breathing that didn't know it was being watched.
This morning, every instrument in this room spiked at once. Hardest reading in 7 years. And within the hour, our scouts had partition columns changing course on every road they could still see. Toward this hill.
She turned to face him.
You were down in that city, Captain. Did you feel it?
Nekao looked at the thing breathing in its crater and thought about a moment on the east lane he'd only heard about secondhand, and the quiet that had arrived on the corridor like a held breath.
Something. Nobody could name it.
Nobody up here could either. But it came from this room. They're not gathering to take the base. They're gathering to take this.
Nekao said nothing for a long moment.
How long do we have?
You tell me. You've seen how they move.
She keyed the door open behind them.
Get your people settled. When it starts, it won't stop.
Aelin took his position on the southern wall as the light started going out of the sky. The southern approach ran open and empty below him. Bare ground, the dark line of the road they hadn't taken, the city burning quietly in the distance with 2 small steady lights still sitting on it. To the east, the battle kept its rhythm, gunfire and the flare of Mora rising and falling, never stopping. Their side was quiet. It was the wrong kind of quiet, and by now he knew the difference. Ross settled in beside him, uncharacteristically without commentary. Nevan stood a few meters down the wall, facing the open ground, and Aelin could see it now in the set of his shoulders. Whatever Nevan was hearing, it was getting louder. Nekao came back from wherever the commander had taken him with something changed behind his face. He didn't say what. He moved through the position, checking lines of fire, talking to the soldiers, converting whatever he'd been handed into the best version of itself available, and the soldiers responded with the relief of people who'd been waiting for somebody to tell them what came next. But Aelin knew the look by now. It was the same one from the staging area, pointed at something bigger than 2 ships. Aelin looked out at the open ground. Somewhere below, in the dark between the base and the burning city, everything that had walked away from the corridor was gathering. The Prophet was on the eastern flank, and the eastern guns kept their rhythm, steady as a countdown. Their turn was coming. Everyone on the wall knew it.